Hello everyone, and we're going to be looking at the severe weather risk throughout today and tonight. This will be including the severe weather risk, future radar, and the severe thunderstorm ingredients for this severe weather risk. But right now, we are currently looking at the severe weather risk. Throughout today, they have issued that enhanced risk for severe weather that is highlighted in that orange type of region. That's including parts of Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Nebraska there. Now this will most likely be kind of a line of storms. That's why it's kind of more in that smaller area. It's not that more widespread since the storms are not going to be super widespread. They're mostly going to be north. They're mostly going to be heading northeast, kind of that direction. So definitely, that's why it's only a very little spot there. You do have that severe weather risk throughout the northern, Midwest, and plains. Also, another severe weather risk from Tropical Storm Cristobal. You do have a 5% risk of tornadoes throughout that slight risk area in parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. So definitely you could see a couple tornado warnings throughout today. Pretty sure we have already seen some throughout the day. Here's the tornado risk. Like I said, there is that 5% risk of tornadoes in that Mississippi area there. So definitely you could see a couple tornado warnings throughout today, and another 5% risk throughout today in the Minnesota and the Dakota, South Dakota, and Nebraska area. Definitely could see a couple tornado warnings throughout today in that area too. Most of these will be happening overnight, so you definitely need to get away. You definitely need to have a way to get those warnings, watches, and advisories out. And you also do have that 2% risk of tornadoes within the green shaded areas there. Here's a hail risk, and you can definitely see some very large hail throughout the day. You can see 2-inch plus size hail in the red shaded area and that kind of hatched area there. Definitely some very large hail is expected within these storms that will be impacting parts of that area. Up to golf ball size hail within the yellow shaded area, and up to quarter size hail is within that green shaded area there. Lastly, here's the wind risk, and definitely wind is a threat here. You can see up to 80-mile-per-hour gusts within the red shaded area, up to 60-mile-per-hour gusts within the yellow shaded area, and up to around 40-mile-per-hour gusts within the green shaded areas there. So now we can look at the future simulated radar for this severe weather and the severe weather ingredients, what we need for this severe weather throughout today and tonight. Alright, so first of all, we're looking at the simulated future radar, and right now we are looking at around midday right now, but you can get into around 2 p.m. You get into around 4 p.m. now, you start to see those storms develop. There is that 5% risk of tornadoes within that Minnesota area. So definitely you could see maybe 1 or 2 tornado warnings come out of those storms. That'll most likely go over the border into Canada, and then you get those more storms developing around that 5% tornado risk, and that's around 9 p.m. So like I said, these will mostly happen overnight, but you could definitely see some afternoon storms. That'll be around 6 p.m. there, but mostly you get into 1 a.m. now, and most of the storms are hitting the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Nebraska now. And like I said, that will be forming in kind of a line. Not really an organized line of storms, but definitely will be kind of that very tight area in that Minnesota, Dakotas, and Nebraska area. But you get into around 3 a.m. now, and most of those weekends, there's still some very strong storms moving throughout Minnesota now, but those are pretty much turned into a large rain shower. Definitely could possibly see some minor flooding, but not really flooding is not really a flooding risk with these storms. There's still some thunderstorms, but they're not going to be as severe once you get into 7 a.m. tomorrow. Now we can look at the kind of the ingredients now. Right now here, we're looking at the energy within the atmosphere. So definitely you're getting up to around 3,600 joules per kilogram. Definitely could see some large hail in there if those storms do hit those spots, especially these yellows. You can definitely see some large hail if those are hail producers. Even 4,000 joules per kilogram. So definitely some pretty big Cape values out there. Not as big as yesterday's, but yesterday's was pretty high, and that was indicating that there was some very large hail yesterday. Still some energy within the air, but that shouldn't be any severe storms. Mainly just some isolated storms will be within that area. Here's significant tornado threat, and there is definitely some threat of some significant tornadoes in northern Minnesota, but mainly down here it's other 5% risk area. There's not really that risk of tornadoes. There is a risk for tornadoes, but not really any significant tornadoes are possible down there. Definitely for northern Minnesota, definitely keep weather aware today, as you could definitely see some significant tornadoes throughout today and tonight. Supercell composite, and definitely there is some big supercells possible within that northern Minnesota area, and definitely we could see some maybe a strong tornado or two in the northern Minnesota area if any storms decide to develop within there. But mainly those storms are going to be in the more northwestern part of Minnesota. There's some supercell composite down here, so that's why there's that 5% risk of tornadoes. Now here's the helicity swaths. These are where tornadic storms will hit, or not particularly where tornadic storms will hit, but these swaths. This is where these storms will be having rotating updrafts. So definitely, if you're in this type of area, if you're in the swath or in any of these swaths, you could definitely see maybe a tornado warning coming out if those since some of those storms will be having some rotating updrafts. Now here's the hail, and definitely these storms could definitely see some hail in northwestern Minnesota, and you can definitely see some bigger hail now in those. You can barely see it, but definitely in those blues, very large hail is possible within those storms. Lastly, here's the dew points, and dew points are going to be very high in northwestern Minnesota. That's why there's a very escalated tornado risk. 74 degrees of dew points, and also it will be very muggy. There's just so much moisture in the air coming up from the Gulf. There's just really prompting that tornado threat within kind of northern part of Minnesota and the Dakotas. So definitely tornadoes are a threat, and you need to know that throughout today and tonight in most of these storms. Like I said, we'll be hitting overnight, so make sure you do have that way to get warnings, watches, and advisories. If you did enjoy this video, I would ask you to subscribe if you are new to the channel, and make sure to share this video with any friends or family that might be interested in watching daily weather forecasts. But anyways, stay safe.